option that I do or against the calf because it does.
I'm looking at this video on YouTube about Trikonasana. And it's really fascinating because I go into looking what other yoga teachers do and what we have in common, what we don't have in common. And today I would really like to break apart this video, which is a video seen by many, many thousands of people, even millions, and give a little bit my idea to them. Because the alignment is not always correct. And it's not so that, oh, it has to be correct and the way it feels, because there's anatomy behind. And if we are using the anatomy, the understanding of anatomy behind the pose, then you will also know that you can keep yourself safe when you do your yoga practice, your asana practice.
If we begin from the foundation up, my front foot is pointed to the top of the mat, which is great. And my back foot is roughly parallel to the shorter edge of the mat. So for me, for my body and my hips, this is what feels the best. I like to have my foot, my back one, parallel to the shorter edge of the mat. For some people, turning the toes in a little bit is going to feel a lot better. You'll kind of know right away based on how this feels in your knee. For me, as soon as I turn the toes in, I feel a little twinge in my knee, so I know this is not appropriate for me.
So like you see in the video, when Kassandra takes her legs apart, she doesn't really mention how far they go. She just puts them apart, however. And then she also says, turn your foot out into that direction. And then she says you can keep your leg like that. Yeah, you see that here. So she also mentions that you can turn it in, but it gives her knee pain. But actually, there is some other truth behind this. First of all, the leg distance has to be about 1.2 meters to about 1.35 meters. So this is about 4.5 to 4.5 feet, yeah, about. So if we have the legs too close together, we are also affecting our joints in a negative way. So for example, for me, the foot distance is quite wide. I would have this. This is what's about a 120 for me. So then I turn the left foot in from the ankle. And why? Because the knee joint is aligned with the ankle, while I turn the front leg out, which is in a 90-degree angle. So what I've missed to hear from Kassandra's video is the alignment with the ankle and the hip. Because in her video, she pushes the hip back, and I'm going to get to that later. But because of that incorrectness, there is also the problem with the knee for her, right? So I have another video where I explain in detail how to bring the front hip in joint. Super important. Nobody talks about it. But I link that here so you can watch that video. So we're not going to focus so much on that front leg, but this is about the position. So the heel should be also in the center of the back arch, which he didn't mention at all. When this foot alignment is correct, then the muscles are in the correct place.
You can also do this with a block. I really encourage students to practice just either holding onto the shin, placing their hand on a block on the highest level, or just pressing the back of the hand against the shin. That's usually the option that I do, or against the calf, because it does activate quite nicely here.
And then what Kassandra showed is to place the hand on the outside of the foot. So when you do that, you have no support. And if I'm quite strong, I can hold myself in with my legs. A beginner can't. They get lower back pain very easily. For that reason, you want to have a block always and behind the leg. She also showed, use a block here. Why don't we want the block here? Because the shoulder will not be in line with the wrist. So the block is behind the leg, the shoulder is right under, and therefore you get that alignment, you keep your shoulder safe, and most of all, you support your lower back muscles. Yeah, so without support, lots of strain. And then even worse is to put the support onto the leg, because that overstretches the knee, which you don't want.
So rolling that back hip, rolling that back shoulder, right now everything is shining towards you guys. If I fall out of that alignment, all of a sudden my right hip and my right shoulder, those lights would be shining more towards the floor, which is not what we want.
So what Kassandra showed is what you should avoid is this, letting the hip drop. I totally agree. She's very right about that. But what she's been saying is that push your hip back And that's where it got me like, ooh, danger, danger, danger zone. So if that happens, I show you anatomically what happens in the pelvis. So when you are in the position, this is the pelvis in neutral. Yeah, so I'm turning the back foot in, so I get the pelvis diagonally. And so when I go down, it's still stable, right? It's still the same thing. It goes down like that. But now if I'm going down and I push the hip back like he showed, it goes this. And look what happens on the other end. If I pull the pelvis in this direction, the hip bone, then the SI joint starts to jam. This is what you don't want, because it creates a lot of problems. And a lot of people have these problems. So please do yourself a favor, practice with a teacher who understands their anatomy before you hurt yourself. And in the long run, it's not worth it, because yoga is meant to be amazingly feeling you, getting you to places in your own body where you didn't even know that you can go. So enjoy the next video.